Okay, in this tutorial we'll cover how to deploy an Azure Container Instance using the Azure command line interface. So I'm just showing you my Azure portal right now. I've got no resource groups in there right now, so I'll need to create a resource group using the command line interface, and then we'll create that container group and container instance via the CLI. So we'll be reviewing some of the Azure CLI container related commands in this tutorial. So we'll be covering quite a few in there. So let's get started right now. So what we need to do first is we need to create the resource group. So we'll be using the AZ group create command, and we'll specify the name of the resource group and the location of that resource group. So let's run that now. Make sure you're logged in first with an AZ login. I've already done that. Okay, so the resource group's been created. So now we're ready to create the container instance in the container group. To do that, we'll be using the AZ container create command to create the container group in the resource group that we've created above. So this will be the full command that we use. So AZ container create will specify the resource group, we'll specify the name of the container group, we'll give an image, and we'll give a DNS name label. We'll specify the ports we want to use, the amount of CPU cores, and the amount of memory in gigabytes that we'll be using. So let's run that now. Okay, so that was completed successfully. So what we want to do is see if the container group has been created. We won't go into the portal just yet. So what we'll do is we'll use the AZ container list command to get a list of the container groups that are within the resource group that we created above. So let's do that right now. So AZ container list, and we'll specify the resource group as a parameter. And we want to output this to a table. So what you can see here is we've got a container group called container group. It's under the resource group Cloud Engineer Skills ACI RG. It has a status of succeeded. It's using the ACI Hello World image. It's got a particular IP and it's using port 80, and it's using 2 CPU cores and 2 gigabytes of memory for RAM. It's using a Linux OS type, and its location is in East US. If we want to access this container image in the browser, we would need to get the fully qualified domain name. We can use the IP address as well, but why don't we get the fully qualified domain name using the AZ container show command. Run that command right now. So we're passing parameters of the resource group and the container group as a name, and we're using a particular query to access that fully qualified domain name. So this is the fully qualified domain name. It's got the DNS label here, it's got the region, and it's got the final part of the URL, which is azurecontainer.io. So let's run that in the browser. Okay, and we can see the Welcome to Container Instances web page that is running within that Azure Container Instance. So you can do a couple of things to monitor that container instance. We can use a command called AZ container logs to get the logs for that container instance. So we need to specify the resource group and the name of the container group to get those logs. So let's run that now. And we can see some standard web server access logs here. So it says it's listening on port 80, and it's got some information about the accesses that were made to that web server. It's got like the browser agent and stuff like that. So if you want to continuously monitor and stream those logs, you can use the AZ container attach command, and you need to provide the resource group and the name of the container group to do that. So let's run that AZ container attach command right now. So it's gotten the existing logs and it's currently listening for more logs. So why don't I try access it one more time? And I should see that that information is now here. So it happened at 1:51 here. So that information is streamed to the command line, which is very useful. If I want to stop that, I'm just going to go Control C to terminate that. Okay, so before I delete the resources, you can see that, yep, all of this is in the Azure portal as well. You can see the resource group is here. You can see the container group is here. And under the containers, you can see information about that container. It's got the name container group. It's using the ACI Hello World image. This is when it was started, pulled and pulling. We've got some properties about the container group here. It's using port 80. It's using 2 CPU cores. It's using 2 gigabytes of memory. And you can access the logs here as well. And if you go back into the overview, you can see the fully qualified domain name as well. So it's all accessible in the portal as well. First, before we delete it, let's list the container groups under the resource group. Using the AZ container list command, you can see we've got that one container group there. And now we're going to delete it. So we're going to go and use AZ container delete, specify the resource group and the name of the container group, and we're going to delete that container group. After that, we will run the container list command again and verify that that is not there anymore. We've removed it successfully. Yep, it's no longer there. And we can delete the resource group now. We don't need that anymore. So let's do that with an AZ group delete command. Okay, so it looks like that has been deleted now. So if we go back into the portal and if we refresh, we should see that that resource group is no longer there. So that's been successfully deleted. So that's it for this tutorial on how to create an Azure Container Instance via the Azure command line interface. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.